Joseph Hale had spent the last 3 years learning how to survive without falling apart. Every morning before sunrise, he woke in the tiny apartment he shared with his 6-year-old daughter, Olivia. He prepared her breakfast, packed her school bag, and hurried to his first job before most people even opened their eyes. At night, he worked extra shifts unloading heavy boxes at a warehouse, returning home exhausted while Olivia slept on the couch waiting for him. Life had become a cycle of bills, exhaustion, and silent sacrifices. Still, Joseph never complained, because every difficult day ended the same way. Olivia running into his arms and calling him Daddy, like he was the safest person in the world. Before we continue this emotional story, take a moment to subscribe to our channel if you want to improve your English vocabulary through meaningful storytelling. Listening to real-life inspired stories is one of the best ways to learn natural English expressions, emotional dialogue, and everyday vocabulary. Like this video and stay with us for more powerful English stories that teach both language and life lessons. That Thursday evening had started like any other. Joseph picked Olivia up from school after finishing an early shift. He noticed she looked tired, her little shoulders drooping under her backpack. To cheer her up, he took her to a small roadside diner just outside town. It was an old place with flickering neon lights and cracked red booths, but Olivia loved it. The waitress always gave her an extra cherry on top of her milkshake. For Joseph, that diner represented something rare: peace. He sat across from Olivia while she happily drew pictures on paper napkins. For the first time in days, he allowed himself to breathe slowly. Then the screaming started. At the counter near the kitchen, 2 men had clearly been drinking for hours. Their loud laughter had already made several customers uncomfortable. But no one wanted trouble. When a young waitress accidentally dropped a tray beside them, the situation changed instantly. One man grabbed her wrist aggressively. The other blocked her path and mocked her while she tried to pull away. The diner suddenly became quiet. People lowered their eyes. A few customers pretended not to notice. Joseph felt tension spread through his chest. Every instinct told him the situation was dangerous. But another voice inside him whispered something equally powerful. If he got involved, he could lose everything. One injury, one arrest, one mistake. People like Joseph could not afford problems. He looked at Olivia, hoping the situation would end on its own. But then he saw fear in the waitress's eyes. And before Joseph could decide what to do, Olivia tugged gently on his sleeve. "Daddy," she whispered softly, "please help her." Those 4 words changed everything. Joseph looked at his daughter and suddenly remembered the promise he had made after his wife died. He would teach Olivia to become kind. He would show her that good people still existed. And most importantly, he would never let her believe that fear was stronger than doing what was right. Slowly, Joseph stood up. The room became silent. One of the drunk men turned toward him and laughed. "You got a problem?" the man slurred. Joseph kept his voice calm. "Let her go." The second man shoved Joseph hard against a nearby table. Glasses rattled. Olivia gasped in fear. Joseph could have stepped back. Instead, he moved forward. The fight that followed was fast, clumsy, and painfully real. There were no dramatic movie moments, no perfect punches, just panic, adrenaline, and instinct. Joseph blocked another swing and pushed one attacker backward into a stool. The second man lunged toward him, but Joseph managed to force him down before he could hurt anyone else. Within seconds, both men were restrained on the floor while shocked customers stared in silence. Joseph's hands trembled. He was not proud. He was terrified. The waitress backed away, crying quietly. Olivia stood frozen beside the booth, clutching her small backpack tightly. Then, someone finally called the police. When officers arrived, Joseph immediately worried about the consequences. He imagined legal bills, losing his jobs, and explaining everything to Olivia. But witnesses slowly began speaking up. Several customers confirmed the waitress had been harassed. Security footage supported Joseph's actions completely. The officers eventually released him without charges. Even so, Joseph barely slept that night. He kept replaying the scene in his mind, wondering whether standing up for someone had placed his daughter's future at risk. The next morning, he kissed Olivia goodbye before school and headed to work with a heavy heart. Around noon, his supervisor approached him. "There's someone waiting for you in the office." Joseph immediately assumed the worst, but when he entered the room, he found a sharply dressed man sitting calmly beside the manager. The man stood and extended his hand. "My name is Adrian Cross." Joseph recognized the name instantly. Adrian was the CEO of the hospitality company that owned the diner. Joseph felt his stomach tighten. Adrian invited him to sit down. "I reviewed the incident personally," Adrian said quietly. "And I came here because men like you are rare." Joseph frowned in confusion. Adrian explained that the waitress, whose name was Patricia, had recently been struggling financially. She had nearly quit her job after months of harassment from difficult customers and overwhelming stress. "What happened last night could have destroyed her confidence completely," Adrian said. "Instead, she saw someone stand up for her when nobody else would." Joseph lowered his eyes, uncomfortable with the praise. "I just did what anyone should do." Adrian shook his head gently. "No," he replied. Most people watched. The room became silent. Then Adrian continued speaking. He revealed that he himself had grown up in poverty with a single mother. Throughout his childhood, he often watched people ignore suffering because helping seemed inconvenient. "That's why your actions mattered," Adrian said. "Not because you fought two men, but because your daughter saw courage instead of indifference." Joseph felt emotion rising in his chest. For the first time in years, someone saw him as more than a tired worker struggling to survive. Then Adrian offered something unexpected. The company wanted Joseph to join their regional safety and employee support department. The role included stable daytime hours, healthcare benefits, paid vacation, and enough salary to provide real stability for Olivia. Joseph stared at him speechlessly. He had spent years believing life only became harder. Now suddenly, one difficult choice had opened a door he never imagined possible. "You'd really offer me that?" Joseph asked quietly. Adrian smiled. "We need people who protect others even when it's uncomfortable." Joseph accepted the offer, with tears burning behind his eyes. But the positive changes did not stop there. Over the following months, Joseph's entire life slowly transformed. For the first time since his wife passed away, he no longer needed two exhausting jobs to survive. He started eating dinner with Olivia every evening instead of rushing to work. He attended her school events. He helped with homework. Sometimes they simply sat together watching old movies, without worrying about overdue bills. Olivia noticed the difference immediately. "You smile more now," she told him one night. Joseph realized she was right. Meanwhile, Patricia, the waitress from the diner, also began rebuilding her life. With support from the company, she returned to school part-time and started training for management positions within the restaurant group. She often told people that one stranger's courage had reminded her not to give up on humanity. Months later, the diner held a small employee appreciation event. Joseph and Olivia were invited. When they arrived, Patricia greeted them with tears in her eyes and hugged Olivia tightly. "You saved me too," she whispered to the little girl. Olivia looked confused. "I didn't do anything." Patricia smiled warmly. "Yes, you did. You reminded your dad to be brave." Joseph stood quietly nearby, overwhelmed by how one moment had connected so many lives. As the evening ended, Olivia slipped her hand into her father's. "Daddy?" "Yes, I'm glad you helped her." Joseph looked down at his daughter and smiled softly. "Suwanwi." He understood something important then. Real courage is not about being fearless. It is about choosing kindness, even when fear exists. Joseph Hale never became famous. There were no television interviews, no viral internet clips, no headlines celebrating his actions. But in one small diner, on one ordinary night, a single father made a choice that changed several lives forever. And sometimes, Those are the stories that matter most. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe to our channel to continue improving your English through powerful storytelling. These stories help you learn real English vocabulary, emotional expressions, and natural conversations while enjoying meaningful life lessons. Like, comment, and share this video so more English learners around the world can grow their language skills through stories that inspire hope and courage.